In this video, we start off with a new Slayer task that we recently unlocked, and in the midst of that task, we reach another important milestone for the account. And naturally, the Slayer progression takes us back to Tormented demons and demonic gorillas. During the recording of this episode, big changes came into the game. And no, it wasn't new content. They addressed old content, and you'll just have to stay tuned to see what I looked into. After some skipping, we have finally picked up a neck reels task. 214, pretty big one at that. This is a great task to pick up for multiple reasons. For one thing, it's in the catacombs, so we're going to have chances at the ancient shards. We did pick one up from a previous Dagnaught task, but we are still a ways away. We're not even halfway there yet, I don't think. Another thing is neck reels task is obviously a barrage task, so the EXP is going to go by pretty quickly. And of course, there is the superior chance, so we could get an imbued heart. Made our way to the catacombs where the neck reels are. The second chamber further east is usually the better room for barraging. The other room is good too, but I think this one's just ever so slightly better. I think the main thing is that occasionally in the room to the west, they can sneak up the stairs over there sometimes. Anyways, we are geared up in our Sunfire gear again for barraging, despite the fact that neck reels, I think they are a little bit tankier than Dust Devils, but I've been talking about my dire prayer pot situation, so I'm choosing to conserve more prayer. And for good measure, I even slapped on some Devout boots. Just realized that I never swapped out the ring and we're still using a Berserker ring, but let's not talk about that. Unlike the Dust Devils task, a neck reels task is actually not a 0 damage task. These death spawns do range you from time to time and do a little bit of chip damage to you, so make sure to bring Blood Barrage as well. On top of that, the superior variant of this mob is much scarier than most superiors, so keep in mind that as well. Just picked up another ancient shard, so we're one closer to the 30 we need for the Emberlight. I just think it's kind of funny how much stock we put into getting these, because in any other situation, these ancient shards would just be a drop where you go, oh, that's neat, I guess. And a collection log, Rune Boots. Interesting thing about the Rune Boots drop is that if we weren't in a Dolo GIM dynamic here where we had our maxed account provide us with the Arania boots, we would otherwise be rocking Rune Boots for quite some time. That's because there is a ginormous gap between 80 Slayer having unlocked neck reels and therefore access to Rune Boots, and I believe 93, let's just fact check that real quick. No, 92 for Iraq sites where they dropped the Arania boots. In just a few more casts, we're going to hit a pretty big milestone. And there we go. There it is. 99 hit points achieved. That is the fourth 99 on the account. And the next one that's probably going to follow is 99 range. We are 900k EXP away. But from this point on, we will never be healthier than we are now at 99 HP. It appears luck is on our side because here is a huge Black Demons task, so back to Demonics we go. Starting KC on the task is 396 Demonic Gorillas. So as of right now, we are 1 out of 4 on our Zenytes. We've also pulled 2 Ballista Springs and a Light Frame, so we're lucky in some senses, but only 1 Zenyte so far. I just remembered something. So I made my way over to the Duel Arena, PvP Arena, Amir's Arena, whatever you want to call it. But we're here to claim our 99 HP cape. I'm going to speak to Surgeon General Tafani here and ask for a skill cape of hit points. It's going to cost 99k. There we are. You know, I'm not sure I've ever used the skill cape emote for this one, so let's check out what it does. I can't perform that emote now. Okay, unsure as to why I wasn't allowed to use the emote over there, but I just TP'd out to another location and... Now the HP 99 cape does have some niche uses. It used to be relevant at Wintertide, but nowadays I'm not so sure anymore. Anyways, back to Demonic Gorillas we go. Over on the maxed account, we're finally starting to address our prayer pot storage. I do have a ton of Renar seeds, but I just never got around to doing any herb runs, and quite frankly, I just don't do them at all. But the game has forced my hand. The situation is what it is, and now we gotta start doing some herb runs. Another day, another Demonics trip, and for some reason, somebody here is leaving a ton of amethyst darts on the ground. But like that is strange to me. Like if I was feeling lazy and I didn't want to bring like a cape switch of any sorts, I'd be camping the quiver or some sort of assembler, you know? Or at the very least, I'd pick the darts back up when there's such a huge stack like that. That was KC number 500 right on the dot, and we get a pair of rune plate legs. Now you'll see in the spellbook, they just did a pretty big update, and apparently they added some new spells or something to the standard spellbook, and now the high alch spell is on the left side of the spellbook rather than somewhere on the right where we're all accustomed to. So it's going to take a bit of time to get adjusted to that. Just got ourselves our first redwood tree seed drop. 2 of them, in fact. I don't know what the drop rate on that is, but it has to be pretty rare. Over the course of our grind at the demonic gorillas, I've been noticing some people use the Osmuntum's Fang. Now that I think about it, I did used to use the Fang on wait for it when I was grinding demonic gorillas. So I ran the DPS calcs, and the Fang is indeed better than the Blade of Saildor. So for some variety's sake, we're going to be switching to the Osmuntum's Fang and banking our Blade of Saildor, which I just noticed is still sitting in our inventory. So let me get rid of that real quick. Working on KC number 600 in total right now. It would be the perfect time to get our second Zenyte. What are we going to get? One big Scobo hit. Okay, or we can hit a tiny 4. 74 death runes. Remember earlier when I talked about somebody not using an Ava's assembler and there was a ton of amethyst darts everywhere? Well, now this is a completely different person doing the same thing. And now I'm not so sure I can call them people anymore. It's highly suspicious. Really struggling towards the tail end of this task. Just 20 to go. I'm starting to feel a bit cooked on the Demonic's grind, even though I'm not particularly dry. We are over rate for the second Zenyte now, but I mean, it's really not too bad, but I'm just getting tired of all the clicking I'm having to do here, to be honest. But 82 Slayer has just crept up on us. I don't think that unlocks anything. Again, I could be wrong. Let's just fact check this in real time. Try not to die while we're at it though. 82, 82. Ancient Wyverns. Yeah, nobody cares about that, let's be honest. Here we go, the final KC of the task. It feels like it's been forever, but we're finally towards the end. Barring a Bracelet of Slaughter proc, what are we going to get for the final KC? Pretty good timing, as well as our combat pot and ranged pot are expiring. A Burning Claw spec for good measure, and Rune Javelin heads. So we ended up doing exactly 300 Black Demons on the dot. If memory serves me correct, the task was originally a 235 Black Demons task. So we used over 2 Bracelet of Slaughters. Before we make our way back to Cyrodiil to see what our next task is, let's go ahead and read the gravestone right here. Check our total KC, and we are now up to 695 demonic gorillas. Unfortunately, throughout this task, there was nothing to show for. So we are ever so slightly dry on the Zenyte shards, but in general, I do think we're still lucky because we've received 4 drops in total. We're now totaling up to 2 Ballista Springs, a Light Frame, and 1 Zenyte shard. But it's been over 300 KC, I think, since we've last gotten any drop. Let's see what our next task is going to be. I really could use a break from Black Demon, so hopefully we don't get those again. And wow, without even any skipping, we get a Greater Demons task. 250 of them. This is going to be a big task, especially including the fact that we're going to be using Bracelet of Slaughters. I actually don't mind going back to Tormented Demons, and maybe we'll be able to pick up our final Tormented Synapse, at least on this account. Now that we're going back to Tormented Demons, I'm going to have to revert the Scorching Bow back into the Synapse, and then now we're going to, well, not that. We're going to use the Synapse on the Anvil, and we're going to make our Purging Staff, and we have one once again. Cost us a Battle Staff and an Iron Bar whenever we have to switch back and forth like that, but I mean, that's a pretty small cost in my opinion. Making my way back to Tormented Demons right now, and I'm just going to look at the amount of KC we have real quick. So according to the loot tracker, we're currently at 896 Tormented Demon KC. So we're going to need another 104 to be exact to reach the drop rate for our second Synapse. We'll see if we can get better luck here than we have at demonics. So having gone back and forth between the greater demons, or tormented demons rather, and demonics, I feel like I have a preference to liking tormented demons more. I feel like the slower pace at which you have to change your gear is nice, and I do think the purging staff is more significant at tormented demons than the scorching bow is at demonic gorillas. I could be wrong, maybe it's skewed because of the lack of rigor I have, but then again, I don't have augury either, so not sure about that. Seems like every time I'm at the tormented demons, I'm kind of just in a zone of sorts, and I don't really pay attention to anything else. Time just seems to go by quicker than it really does, and as a result, I miss out on some things. For example, we just hit 96 magic, so 3 more levels to go until we hit that coveted 99. Now, the 99 cape for magic is actually pretty crucial, especially if you don't have the POH altar to swap spellbooks. Because each day, the magic cape gives you 5 free cape swaps, or spellbook swaps, I should say. Now, it matters a little less to us because we do have access to a altar in the POH, but it's also nice in the event that we get to a location. For example, if you make it all the way to Dagonoth Kings and you realize you're on the wrong spellbook, it's a kind of a pain in the ass to teleport out, swap, and go back, right? So if you have a magic cape or a max cape, you can swap spellbooks that way. Although I guess that's more specifically a max cape perk because you wouldn't randomly be carrying a magic cape around. Swapping the POV over to wait for it here because in the middle of that Tormented Demons trip, I decided to send some Phosani's Nightmare. I've mentioned this before, and due to the nature of the series and in the name of consistency, what I record and when it gets uploaded may not line up that well sometimes. During this recording, they implemented a massive update where they addressed a bunch of existing content in the game, and one such thing was Phosani's Nightmare. You may remember that previously we mentioned that the clan had a Phosani's Nightmare Boss of the Week planned. However, the hype really died down for that because Jagex announced that they may remove an entire phase for Phosani's Nightmare. Well, turns out they did make that change after all, so we had to go check it out. Now, if everything went according to plan, there should be a video available on my channel that was released on the update or around update time regarding Phosani's Nightmare. I'll be sure to link that video in the description, but it's otherwise not part of the GIM series. So with that being said, let me just update you guys on what exactly happened if you haven't seen that video already. There's a few other adjustments they made to Phosani's Nightmare as well. One such thing is that you do respawn right outside of this pool of nightmares. And, well, yeah, so I definitely planked on purpose to showcase the fact that you get TP'd out here now, so yeah. Last KC here. Surely on our way out we get something. Oh my, no way. No way. KC412. Harmonized orb, just like that. Okay, I just had to watch back that clip I just recorded, but you know, icing on top of the cake. We got a new PB2, 544. Before we end the video, obviously I had to put on the proper attire with the harmonized staff one time. In fact, actually, maybe this Eladinus ward, kitted by the way, isn't the perfect thing to go with it. 1 second. I suppose if you're going to be using the Nightmare Staff, you're going to be using the Tome of Fire, so here we are. Anyways, that's going to wrap up the video. Definitely didn't expect a drop, but sometimes you just got to will and yap your way to one. The intentions today were simply to try out some Phosani's Nightmare post-update where they removed an entire phase. And in conclusion, the pacing of the boss feels much better now, and I think I'm going to enjoy the future grinds much more. That's probably one of the best feelings, when you have no intention of actively grinding out a boss, but you just happen to get a drop anyways when you're there for a few KCs. Anyways, we're going to turn our attention back to 416 Hero, try to finish out 1 more Synapse and perhaps 3 more Zenytes. I will say though, we've been putting many hours into the 50 defense account, and I feel like we are due for a switch back to playing the maxed account for a little bit soon. Again, in real time, there is a clan bingo coming up, so I'm going to be playing that on the maxed account. Wait for it. I do want to achieve the 4 Zenytes and 2 synapses before then, but only time will tell. If we don't make it, we don't make it. And like I said before, I want to prioritize fun above all else in this series. And as of recently, I feel like I may enjoy playing on the maxed account more. So we'll be looking to switch real soon.